Commander Jiwoo Park took a deep breath as she stood on the raised platform in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. The massive circular chamber, with its soaring crystal ceiling and tiered seating, housed representatives from over 200 worlds. Jiwoo felt small under the weight of their stares. "The Earth Space Service presents the Perseverance," she announced, activating the holographic display. The ship appeared above the center of the hall, sleek in some places, bulky in others, with unusual protrusions and visible welding lines that reflected Earth's limited manufacturing capabilities. A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Jiwoo kept her face neutral, despite the heat rising in her cheeks. "Is this a joke?" called out a blue-skinned delegate from the third tier. "It looks like someone welded spare parts together." More laughter followed. Jiwoo's hand tightened around, the presentation remote. High Admiral Colday rose from his seat at the front row. The tall, broad-shouldered man with steel-gray hair had opposed Earth's admission to the Empire from the beginning. His thin lips curved into a smile that never reached his cold eyes. "Commander Park," he said, his voice carrying effortlessly through the hall, "while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm, I must question the wisdom of bringing this design before the Council. Your planet has had access to Imperial technology for 50 years. Why insist on these crude hybrid systems when superior options exist?" Jiwoo met his gaze steadily. "Admiral, Earth believes diversity in approach leads to innovation. Our hybrid systems offer advantages that—" "Advantages?" Cole interrupted with a bark of laughter. "Look at these engine configurations. They violate basic principles of quantum efficiency that have been standard for millennia." He gestured to the hologram, pointing out sections with casual disdain. "These shield harmonics are centuries behind current standards, and this hull design, it would crumple under the first hit from a modern weapon system." The council members murmured in agreement, some not bothering to hide their smirks. "With respect, Admiral," Jiwoo continued, "our simulations suggest—" "Simulations created with Earth computers, no doubt," Cole cut in again. "Perhaps we should send your engineers some proper equipment so they can see how truly outdated this vessel is." The chamber erupted in laughter again. Jiwoo felt her jaw tighten but maintained her composure. She'd expected this reaction, but experiencing it firsthand still stung. What none of them knew, what her team had kept secret even from their own government, was that the Perseverance housed an experimental propulsion system unlike anything the Empire had developed. Based on principles discovered by Dr. Sun-Ho Kim, the system could potentially achieve speeds that Imperial ships couldn't match while using half the energy. Jiwoo continued her presentation despite the interruptions, outlining the ship's capabilities, in measured terms that revealed nothing of its true potential. Throughout, delegates whispered and snickered. Some didn't even bother to pay attention, checking their data pads or speaking to aides. After she finished, Admiral Cole approached her as the chamber emptied. "Commander, I admire your courage," he said quietly. "But courage without wisdom is merely foolishness. Earth would be better served accepting Imperial guidance rather than wasting resources on experiments." He pronounced the last word as though it tasted bad. "Thank you for your concern, Admiral," Jiwoo replied evenly. "We value the Empire's experience." He studied her face. "Do you, I wonder? The Imperial observers tell me your engineers routinely ignore their advice." "We consider all input carefully," she said. "Consider this input, Commander. My recommendation to the funding committee will be to redirect Earth's shipbuilding budget to more productive ventures. Perhaps agricultural development would better suit your planet's capabilities." Jiwoo felt ice form in her stomach, but kept her expression neutral. "That would be unfortunate, Admiral." "It would be practical," he corrected before walking away. Back. In her temporary quarters, Jiwoo contacted her team on Earth. Chief Engineer Han Tai's worried face appeared on screen. "That bad?" he asked, seeing her expression. "Worse," Jiwoo sighed. "Cole's threatening to cut our funding completely." Han ran a hand through his graying hair. "We need more time. The Sun-Ho drive works in simulations, but we're still stabilizing. The real version." "Time is what we don't have," Jiwoo said. "How soon can we demonstrate actual performance?" 2 months, minimum. "We're still having containment issues at the higher power levels." Jiwoo shook her head. The funding committee meets in 3 weeks. Han was silent for a moment. Maybe it's time to show them what we've been hiding. A small demonstration. Too risky, Jiwoo cut in. If it fails, we'll confirm their low opinion. If it works too well. She left the thought unfinished. Both knew the Empire might simply take the technology for themselves, leaving Earth with nothing. Then we need another option, Han said. Jiwoo stared out her window at the glittering Imperial capital, its towers stretching impossibly high. Somewhere in those gleaming buildings, decisions were being made that could end Earth's dreams of true independence. Find me one, she said finally. Otherwise, the Perseverance might be the last ship Earth ever builds. The emergency alert jolted Jiwoo from sleep. Her quarters flashed with red warning lights as she fumbled for her communication device. Commander Park, the voice of her liaison officer, Lieutenant Yoon, came through with unusual urgency. The Council has called an emergency session. You need to be there in 30 minutes. What's happened? Jiwoo asked, already pulling on her uniform. Attack on the outer colonies. Helios 9 and Proxima Station have gone dark. It's bad. 25 minutes later, Jiwoo entered a council chamber transformed by crisis. Gone was the casual arrogance of the previous week. Instead, grim faces studied tactical displays, showing a spreading red zone across the sector map. High Admiral Cole Day stood at the center, his usual confident posture replaced by tense shoulders and a deep frown. He barely acknowledged Jiwoo's arrival. 3 colony worlds hit in less than 2 standard days, a tactical officer was saying. No survivors found so far. 4th Fleet engaged the hostiles near Epsilon Station, but suffered heavy losses before retreating. What are we dealing with? Asked one of the senior counselors. Unknown species. No match in our databases, replied the officer. Their ships absorb or redirect our standard weapons. 4th Fleet reported their shots simply disappeared. Impossible, snapped Cole. Nothing can absorb that much energy. The evidence suggests... Otherwise, Admiral, the officer said carefully. We lost 17 capital ships, only 5 managed to retreat. Murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. The Empire hadn't suffered such losses in centuries. Show us their vessels, demanded another counselor. The holographic display shifted to show dark asymmetrical ships that seemed to swallow the light around them. Jiwoo studied them carefully, noticing unusual energy patterns in their hulls. They're using some kind of phase-shifting technology, she said quietly to herself, but in the tense silence her words carried. Admiral Cole turned to her with narrowed eyes. Care to share your expertise, Commander Park? Earth has such extensive experience with unknown hostiles, does it? Jiwoo met his gaze steadily. No, Admiral, but we've been studying alternative energy absorption methods for our shields. Those patterns look similar to our theoretical models. Theoretical, Cole repeated dismissively, but with less bite than usual. Fear had tempered his arrogance. For the next hour, the Council debated responses. More fleets would be mobilized, but preparation would take weeks. The unknown enemy, meanwhile, was advancing daily. We need intelligence, said the Defense Minister. Our standard scout ships can't get close enough without being detected. Jiwoo saw her opportunity and took a deep breath. The Perseverance could do it. All eyes turned to her. Your prototype? Cole asked incredulously. The one with the outdated systems? Yes, Jiwoo said firmly. Our hybrid technology might be an advantage here. If these hostiles are targeting standard Imperial tech signatures, our different energy patterns might not register on their scanners. Pure speculation, Cole said, but he sounded uncertain. What do we have to lose? Jiwoo pressed. The Perseverance is ready for field testing. We're fully crewed. We can deploy immediately while your fleets prepare. The Council members exchanged glances. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and if I approve this mission, Cole said slowly, what exactly would you hope to accomplish? Reconnaissance only, Jiwoo replied. Get close enough to gather data on their technology, weapons, capabilities, and fleet size, information your forces will need for an effective counterattack. After intense debate, the Council approved her proposal, though many clearly saw it as a suicide mission. As the session ended, Admiral Cole pulled her aside. I know what you're doing, Commander, he said quietly. You see this crisis as an opportunity to prove your ship's worth. Jiwoo didn't deny it. Does that change anything? No, Cole admitted. We need information, and no Imperial captain is volunteering to get this close to those things. But understand this, when your primitive vessel fails, it will only confirm what I've been saying about Earth's technology all along. And if we succeed, a cold smile touched his lips, then I'll be the first to congratulate you, assuming you survive to hear it. Jiwoo returned to the Perseverance docking bay to find it buzzing with activity. Chief Engineer Han Tai directed a team making last-minute modifications to the ship's systems. Is it true? Han asked when he saw her. We're going after those alien ships that destroyed the Fourth Fleet. Yes, Jiwoo confirmed. We leave in 12 hours. Han wiped grease from his hands. The Sunho drive isn't ready for combat situations. The containment field still fluctuates under stress. Then, we'll avoid combat, Jiwoo said firmly. This is reconnaissance only, Han. Get in, gather data, get out. And if we're spotted, then we run faster than anything in the Empire can chase us. She lowered her voice. This is our chance to prove what this ship can do. The Council is watching. Han nodded slowly. I'll have the drive ready, but Jiwoo, we're pushing experimental tech to its limits. If something goes wrong out there, I know the risks, she said. So does everyone on this crew. But this mission could change everything for Earth. Throughout the night, the crew prepared. Essential systems were checked and rechecked. Backup systems were installed. The Perseverance's unusual design, once mocked by the Imperial engineers, now seemed like their only hope. As launch time approached, Jiwoo addressed her crew on the bridge, a mix of Earth's best pilots, engineers, and scientists. Their faces showed determination mixed with fear. What we're about to do is dangerous, she told them honestly, but it's also necessary, not just for the Empire, but for Earth. Today, we prove that different doesn't mean inferior. Today, we show what humans can do. Han gave her a nervous thumbs up from his engineering station as the countdown began. Outside their viewports, the massive Imperial docking bay opened to the stars. Perseverance, came Admiral Cole's voice over the comm. You are cleared for departure. May fortune favor your mission. Thank you, Admiral, Jiwoo replied coolly. We'll see you soon. As the ship glided into open space, Jiwoo couldn't help but think that most of the watching Imperial officers expected they'd never return. She gripped her command chair tightly. Plot course for the Epsilon sector, she ordered. Let's see what our ship can really do. The Perseverance dropped out, a faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Epsilon sector, engines humming at minimal power. The bridge was bathed in the dim red glow of combat lighting. Jiwoo leaned forward in her command chair, studying the main view screen that showed only empty space ahead. Status report, she said quietly. All systems nominal, replied Lieutenant. Song at operations. Running silent as ordered. No sign of Imperial or enemy vessels. Jiwoo nodded. Han, how's our signature looking? Chief Engineer Han Tai's voice came through the comm from engineering. Power emissions at 12% of standard Imperial vessels. If they're looking for the usual energy pattern, we should appear as background. Radiation at best. Good. Minho, take us in. 1/4 impulse, Pilot Officer Minho. Kim's hands moved smoothly over the controls. 1/4 impulse, aye. The Perseverance glided forward, a ghost ship slipping through the darkness. They had spent 3 days traveling to reach this point, avoiding the main travel routes used by Imperial ships. Now they were entering the zone where the Fourth Fleet had been decimated. Sensor sweep, Jiwoo ordered. Passive only. Science. Officer Yuna Lee bent over her station. Beginning scan, nothing yet. Wait. Her voice sharpened. I'm picking up debris, lots of it. On screen, Jiwoo commanded. The view screen shifted to show a vast field of twisted metal and broken ship components floating in the void. The remains of Imperial vessels, once the pride of the fleet, now reduced to scrap. Life signs? Jiwoo asked, though she already knew the answer. None, Yuna confirmed grimly. The bridge crew fell silent, taking in the destruction. These were the same ships that had once seemed so mighty and invincible when compared to Earth's vessels. Look at how the hull plates are warped, Han said, having come up to the bridge to see for himself. It's like they were subjected to some kind of energy pulse, that destabilized the molecular structure. "Can you get readings on the residual energy signatures?" Jiwoo asked. Han nodded to Yuna, who adjusted her instruments. "It's like nothing I've seen before," she said after a moment. "Some kind of quantum disruption field. It would explain why Imperial communications went dark so quickly, and why their weapons were ineffective," Jiwoo added. "The field must interfere with the quantum alignment technology their systems rely on." Han's eyes widened. "But our systems don't use the same quantum alignment protocols. We still have mechanical backups and analog systems the Empire considers outdated." "Exactly," Jiwoo said with a small smile. "Our primitive technology might be our best protection." A sudden alert sounded from the tactical station. "Commander," called out Tactical Officer Jin. "Multiple contacts appearing at bearing 047 Mark 12. "On screen," Jiwoo ordered, tensing. The view screen shifted to show 3 dark asymmetrical ships moving through the debris field. They seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making their exact shape difficult to discern. "They just appeared," Jin said in disbelief. "No warp signature, no distortion field. 1 second nothing, next second they're there." "Some kind of cloaking technology," Jiwoo suggested. "More advanced than anything the Empire has," Yuna replied, studying her readings. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildups within those vessels. They're scanning the area." "Will they detect us?" Jiwoo asked. Han moved to Yuna's station, checking the readings himself. "Hard to say. Their scanning technology seems to operate on different principles, but our hybrid systems aren't emitting the signatures they'd normally look for." Jiwoo made a quick decision. "Take us closer, Minho. Keep to the edges of the debris field for cover." "Closer?" Minho questioned, then nodded. "Aye, Commander." The Perseverance slipped through the floating wreckage, moving slowly toward the alien vessels. Everyone on the bridge held their breath as the distance closed. 5,000 kilometers, Minho reported. 4,000? "I'm getting clearer readings now," Yuna said excitedly. "Their hull composition is unlike anything in our database, and there's some kind of field surrounding them that's shifting phase constantly." "That would explain why Imperial weapons couldn't lock on," Han said. "By the time the targeting systems adjusted, the field would shift again." "Are you recording all this?" Jiwoo asked. "Every byte," Yuna confirmed. 2,000 kilometers, Minho announced, tension evident in his voice. One of the alien ships suddenly changed course, heading directly toward a large piece of debris near their position. "Hold position," Jiwoo ordered quietly. They watched as the alien vessel extended what appeared to be a collection beam, pulling in pieces of Imperial technology for examination. "They're studying us," Han whispered. "Learning about Imperial tech." "And we're studying them," Jiwoo replied. "Yuna, focus on their propulsion systems. We need to understand how they move." Minutes stretched into an hour as they shadowed the alien ships, gathering data. The Perseverance remained undetected, validating Jiwoo's theory about their hybrid. Systems, then disaster struck. "Commander," Jin called out urgently. "One of our backup power cells just spiked. It's emitting a standard Imperial energy signature." "Shut it down," Jiwoo ordered immediately. "Too late," Jin replied grimly. "They've detected us. All 3 vessels are changing course." The alien ships turned with impossible speed, bearing down on the Perseverance. "Evasive maneuvers," Jiwoo commanded. "Minho, get us out of here." Minho's hands flew over the controls as the ship banked sharply. "They're fast," Han, Jiwoo called over the comm. "We need the Sunho drive now." "It's not fully tested," Han protested. "It's that or we don't make it home," Jiwoo replied firmly. A tense moment passed. "Initiating drive in 3, 2, 1. The Perseverance lurched as the experimental drive engaged. The stars on the view screen blurred in a way none of them had seen before. "They're firing," Jin reported. A strange energy pulse passed through space where they had been moments before. The Perseverance twisted and turned, performing maneuvers. That would tear apart standard Imperial vessels. "Distance from pursuers," Jiwoo demanded. "They're falling behind," Jin said in disbelief. "I don't think they expected us to move this fast." The crew watched in amazement as the alien vessels grew smaller on their screens, unable to match their speed. "The Sunho drive is working," Han reported. excitement breaking through his professional tone. "Containment fields are holding at 87%. We're outrunning them." Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. "Set course back to Imperial space, maximum sustainable speed. We have what we came for." As they raced away from danger, Jiwoo opened a channel to Imperial Command. "Admiral Cole, this is the Perseverance. We have made contact with the unknown hostiles and are returning with critical intelligence, requesting secure docking upon arrival." There was a pause before Cole's disbelieving voice came through. "Perseverance? You're still in one piece?" "More than that, Admiral," Jiwoo replied. "We've learned why your ships are failing, and we have the data you need to fight back. And, Admiral, you might want to reconsider your opinion of Earth's primitive technology." The stunned silence from the other end was all the validation Jiwoo needed. The main laboratory of Imperial Fleet Headquarters buzzed with activity unlike anything seen in decades. Earth engineers in their simple grey uniforms worked alongside. Imperial scientists in their ornate purple robes bent over workstations and testing equipment. The tension that had existed between them just days ago had been replaced by urgent cooperation. Jiwoo walked through the lab, dodging hurried technicians and stepping over cables that snaked across the floor. Chief Engineer Han was at the center of the chaos, explaining a complex diagram to a circle of Imperial scientists who listened with none of their previous condescension. "The quantum disruption field targets standard Imperial energy signatures," Han was saying. "It's like a virus designed specifically for your technology. But our hybrid systems use different frequencies and have mechanical backups that remain unaffected." "Ingenious simplicity," muttered one of the Imperial scientists, a woman with silver streaks in her dark hair. "We abandoned such redundancies centuries ago, considering them inefficient." "Sometimes inefficiency has its advantages," Han replied. With a small smile, Jiwoo approached the group. "How are the modifications coming?" "Better than expected," Han said. "These Imperial engineers learn quickly when properly motivated." "Fear is quite motivating," the silver-streaked scientist said dryly. 3 colony worlds lost tends to focus the mind." A commotion at the lab entrance drew their attention. Admiral Cole strode in, flanked by his aides. The room quieted as he approached Jiwoo. "Commander Park," he said formally, "the Council requests your presence immediately." 20 minutes later, Jiwoo stood before the Galactic Council again. The atmosphere couldn't have been more different from her previous appearance. Gone were the smirks and casual dismissals. Now grim faces studied her with intense focus. "The enemy fleet has changed course," the Defense Minister announced. "They're no longer targeting outer colonies. Intelligence suggests they're gathering for a strike against Centauri Prime. If it falls, the core worlds will be exposed." Murmurs of alarm filled the chamber. Centauri Prime was home to over 12 billion Imperial citizens and served as the main fleet staging area. "Our main fleet won't be ready for another 2 weeks," Admiral Cole added. "By then, Centauri Prime could be lost." "What options do we have?" asked the High Counselor. Jiwoo stepped forward. "We have one, Counselor. The Perseverance gathered extensive data on the enemy's capabilities. Their quantum disruption technology renders Imperial ships defenseless, but they have no effective countermeasures against our hybrid systems." "You propose to defend Centauri Prime with one ship?" Cole asked incredulously. "No, Admiral. I propose we quickly retrofit a small strike force with Earth's hybrid technology." Jiwoo activated the room's holographic display, showing schematics her team had prepared. "We've designed modification packages that can be installed on Imperial vessels within 72 hours. Not a complete conversion, but enough to maintain basic systems even under quantum disruption attack." 72 hours? An Imperial Admiral scoffed. "Impossible." "With respect," Jiwoo countered, "Earth engineers are quite good at working with limited time and resources. It's a skill you develop when you lack the Empire's advantages." The Council debated heatedly for hours. Finally, with reports of the enemy fleet moving closer to Centauri Prime, they approved Jiwoo's plan with conditions. "Admiral Cole will command the operation," the High Counselor declared. "The Perseverance and Commander Park will serve under his authority." Jiwoo caught the flicker of satisfaction in Cole's eyes. Despite everything, he still couldn't bear to let an Earth officer lead. Of course, Counselor, she said smoothly. We're all on the same side. The next 3 days passed in a blur of frantic activity. 6 Imperial cruisers underwent emergency modifications. Imperial crews worked alongside Earth technicians, installing hybrid power systems and mechanical backups. The work was messy and inelegant by Imperial standards. Exposed wiring, manual override levers, and analog gauges now cluttered the sleek Imperial designs, but functional. Admiral Cole established his command on the Imperial flagship Invictus, the largest of the modified vessels. Jiwoo would lead the Perseverance in the vanguard position. As they prepared to depart, Han pulled Jiwoo aside in the Perseverance's engine room. The modifications will work, he said quietly, but they're rushed. The Imperial crews don't fully understand how to operate the hybrid systems. They'll have to learn quickly, Jiwoo replied. Han hesitated. There's something else. Admiral Cole insisted on minimal changes to the Invictus. He wouldn't allow the full hybrid conversion we recommended. Jiwoo frowned. His pride will get people killed. That's not all, Han continued. I've been reviewing the enemy's attack patterns. They specifically target command ships. They know exactly where to hit us hardest. Jiwoo understood immediately. Keep the Sunho drive at full readiness. We might need it. The small strike force departed for Centauri Prime with grim determination. They arrived to find the enemy fleet already in position, 27 dark ships arranged in attack formation. Battle stations, Admiral Cole's voice came through the fleet-wide comm. Engage according to plan. The Imperial ships moved forward in tight formation, with the Perseverance taking point. The enemy responded immediately, launching the same energy, pulses that had devastated the Fourth Fleet, but this time the results were different. The modified ships maintained power and control, though not without difficulty. Their weapons found targets, their shields held. It's working! Jiwoo heard cheers from her crew as they landed their first successful hits on the enemy vessels. Then she noticed a disturbing pattern. 3 enemy ships were breaking formation, moving to flank the Imperial flagship. Admiral Cole, Jiwoo warned over the comm. 3 hostiles moving to surround you. Recommend immediate evasive action. We have them under control, Commander, came Cole's dismissive reply. Focus on your assigned targets. Jiwoo watched in growing alarm as the enemy ships encircled the Invictus. Han, what's your assessment of the flagship's modifications? Insufficient, Han replied bluntly. They'll lose primary systems within minutes under concentrated attack. Jiwoo made her decision. Minho, change course. Take us to the Invictus. Commander, her tactical officer protested. Our orders... I know our orders, Jiwoo cut him off, but sometimes you have to ignore stupid orders to save lives. The Perseverance broke formation, racing toward the flagship just as the enemy ships launched their attack. The Invictus shuddered under multiple hits, its lights flickering. Admiral Cole, Jiwoo called. Your systems are failing. Prepare for emergency evacuation. Static was her only answer. Han, I need maximum power to shields. We're going in close. The Perseverance slipped between the enemy vessels and the crippled flagship. Taking hits meant for the larger ship. The experimental shields held barely. Docking procedures, Jiwoo ordered. We're boarding the Invictus. What followed was organized chaos. Jiwoo led a team onto the flagship, where emergency lights cast red shadows over injured crew members. They found Admiral Cole on the damaged bridge, bleeding from a head wound as his officers fought to maintain control of the failing ship. Commander Park, he said, genuine surprise in his voice. You disobeyed direct orders. Yes, Admiral, Jiwoo replied, helping him to his feet. I did. Your ship is lost. We need to evacuate essential personnel to the Perseverance. Pride and survival instinct warred briefly on Cole's face before reality won out. Begin evacuation, he ordered his remaining officers. Minutes later, Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, watching in stunned silence as Jiwoo's crew operated with practiced efficiency. The ship moved with impossible agility, evading enemy fire while covering the escape pods launching from the doomed Invictus. How are you maintaining full power? Cole asked, watching the status displays. Our ships couldn't. Earth doesn't have the resources the Empire does, Jiwoo explained, not taking her eyes off the tactical display. We had to develop systems that could adapt, improvise, and survive with less. Turns out those are useful traits in a battle like this. Cole watched as the Perseverance executed a maneuver that would have torn an Imperial vessel apart, positioning itself to fire on an enemy ship's vulnerable section. The targeted vessel shuddered and went dark. "You're winning," he said quietly. "With the ship I mocked as primitive." Jiwoo finally turned to him. "Sometimes being underestimated is its own advantage, Admiral." The victory celebration at Imperial Fleet Headquarters was unlike anything seen in generations. The Grand Hall, with its vaulted ceilings and ornate columns, overflowed with officers and dignitaries from across the Empire. The atmosphere buzzed, with relief and wonder at their narrow escape from disaster. At the center of it all, much to everyone's surprise, stood the Earth delegation. Jiwoo sipped her drink slowly, still uncomfortable with all the attention. Imperial officials who wouldn't even look at her a month ago now sought her out, offering effusive praise and asking technical questions about Earth's hybrid systems. "Enjoying your newfound celebrity?" Han asked, joining her at the edge of the crowd. "About as much as you'd enjoy a reactor leak," Jiwoo replied dryly. "How are the retrofits progressing?" Even during celebration, their work continued. The successful defense of Centauri Prime had convinced the Imperial Council to implement Earth's hybrid technology across the entire fleet. "Faster than expected," Han said. "The Imperial engineers are quick studies once they stop looking down their noses at us. And having Admiral Cole's support makes everything smoother." Jiwoo glanced across the room where Admiral Cole was speaking with several council members. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her a respectful nod. "Still getting used to that," she admitted. "Nothing like nearly dying on someone's ship to change their perspective," Han chuckled. A hush fell over the gathering as the High Counselor took the central podium. The ancient leader raised her hands for silence. "Today marks not just a military victory," she began, her voice carrying effortlessly through the hall, "but a turning point in our understanding of strength and innovation." She gestured toward Jiwoo and her team. "Our friends from Earth have shown us that true advancement comes not from perfecting a single approach, but from embracing diversity of thought and method." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Therefore," the High Counselor continued, "the Council has unanimously approved the establishment of a new joint technology initiative. This program will combine Imperial resources with Earth's innovative approaches, creating the next generation of vessels to defend our worlds." Applause filled the hall. Jiwoo felt a strange mixture of pride and caution. This was more than they had hoped for, but she wondered how it would actually work in practice. As if reading her thoughts, the High Counselor added, "This initiative will be co-directed by Admiral Cole Day and," she paused for effect, "newly promoted Fleet Commander Jiwoo Park." Shocked silence gave way to thunderous applause. Jiwoo stood frozen until Han nudged her forward. As she made her way to the podium, she caught sight of her crew's beaming faces. This wasn't just her victory. It belonged to all of Earth, Admiral. Cole met her at the steps to the platform, extending his hand in the formal Imperial greeting. "Congratulations, Fleet Commander," he said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Then, more quietly, "A well-deserved promotion." "Thank you, Admiral," Jiwoo replied, searching his face for signs of the old resentment. She found none. "I look forward to our collaboration." "As do I," he said, surprising her with his sincerity. "Though I expect you'll challenge many of my long-held beliefs." "Probably," Jiwoo admitted with a small smile. "But isn't that the point?" 3 months later, Jiwoo stood in the massive observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony shipyards, watching workers assemble the first vessel of the new joint fleet. The enormous ship took shape before her eyes, its design unlike anything seen before. Sleek Imperial lines combined with Earth's practical adaptability. "Magnificent, isn't she?" Admiral Cole said, joining her at the viewport. Their working relationship had evolved into an unexpected mutual respect. "She is," Jiwoo agreed. "What do you think of the name?" The ship's designation was emblazoned on the partially completed hull. "IES Cooperation." "Imperial Earthship," Cole mused. "The first of its kind. The name is appropriate." "It wasn't my first choice," Jiwoo admitted. "Told you so had a nice ring to it." Cole actually laughed, a sound Jiwoo was still getting used to. "Your sense of humor remains distinctly Earth-like, Commander." "Some things don't change, Admiral. But many things do," he replied more seriously. The Council received another report this morning. 3 more worlds have requested Earth engineering teams to help modify their defensive systems, even species that have historically kept their distance from the Empire. Jiwoo nodded. People notice when you survive what should have destroyed you. Yes, Cole agreed, and they're noticing Earth. Your planet's reputation has spread faster than we anticipated. Applications to the new Joint Academy are overwhelming. Our systems. Everyone wants to learn the approach that saved Centauri Prime, Jiwoo said. More than that, Cole corrected her. They want to learn how to think differently. For millennia, the Empire has taught unity through standardization. One approach, one technology, one way of thinking. It made us efficient, but... He hesitated. Predictable. Jiwoo finished for him. And vulnerable to threats that approach problems differently. Exactly. Cole turned to face her directly. The Galactic Council has approved your proposal for the Technology Exchange Program. 10 of our most promising scientists will travel to Earth, and 10 of yours will be assigned to our advanced research facilities. Jiwoo couldn't hide her surprise. That was fast. I expected months of debate. The attack changed everything, Cole said simply. Fear of extinction is a powerful motivator, but so is seeing a small, seemingly backward planet succeed where we failed. He paused. I was wrong about Earth, Commander. We all were. We had our advantages, Jiwoo acknowledged. Being underestimated meant we could surprise you. And necessity really is the mother of invention. Earth had to be creative because we couldn't match your resources. Below them, workers attached a massive section of hull plating to the cooperation. Unlike purely Imperial designs, this ship featured visible modification ports and manual override systems, lessons learned from the desperate retrofits that had saved the fleet. Do you think they'll return? Jiwoo asked after a moment. The enemy had retreated after their defeat at Centauri Prime, vanishing as mysteriously as they had appeared. Without doubt, Cole replied grimly. But when they do, they'll find a very different empire waiting for them. He gestured toward the shipyard, where dozens of new vessels were under construction. These ships represent more than just improved technology. They represent a new philosophy. Jiwoo nodded. Strength through diversity rather than uniformity. Something Earth understood long before we did, Cole admitted. Your planet's history is filled with examples of smaller, more adaptive forces overcoming larger, more rigid ones. A notification chimed on Jiwoo's datapad. The first group of Imperial cadets has arrived at the Earth Space Academy, she informed him. Your nephew is among them, I see. Yes, Cole said with uncharacteristic softness. He specifically requested assignment to Earth, said he wanted to learn from the people who built the Perseverance. Pride swelled in Jiwoo's chest. We'll take good care of him. I know you will. Cole turned back to the viewport. The old guard is changing, Commander. Many of us resisted at first, but your actions have spoken louder than any argument could. The future belongs to those who can adapt, who can see value in approaches different from their own. Together they watched as testing lights illuminated across the cooperation's hull, systems coming online one by one. The ship that represented the beginning of a new era. 1 year ago, Jiwoo reflected, I stood before the council while they laughed at our design. Now we're building the future together. The greatest strength of the Empire has always been its ability to evolve, Cole said. Though sometimes we needed a reminder of that. He extended his hand in the formal gesture that had once seemed so condescending to Jiwoo. Now it felt like genuine respect. To new beginnings, Commander Park, Jiwoo clasped his hand firmly. To new beginnings, Admiral Cole. As the cooperation's engines glowed with their first test firing, a perfect blend of Imperial power and Earth. Ingenuity. Jiwoo couldn't help but think of how far they had come. Not just her ship or her crew, but humanity's place in the stars. No longer the newcomers to be tolerated or the primitives to be mocked, but partners and innovators helping. To guide the Empire into a new age, sometimes being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all.